Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today again for this 5th conference of the event Rethinking the Food and Beverage Industry. As usual, before handing over to our speakers, I would like to give you some technical details. So don't hesitate to use the chat to communicate with us. You can let us know if you can hear us well, if you can see us well as well. I also encourage you to ask all your questions in the dedicated questions tab on the side of your screen. This way we can easily see your questions, and it's going to be easy also for us to respond. As a reminder, all conferences are recorded and they will be available starting today on the event page. So our speakers will be Marc Girard, Sales Director for North America at SimLogic, and Chris McKellar, Vice President of Operations for North America at SimLogic. So Chris, Marc, over to you.
Thanks, Aude. We're really happy to be here today and share with you some strategies for plant floor ERP integration from our perspective. So maybe just quick introductions for Chris and myself. I'll start off. So I'm Marc Girard. I sit in Toronto for SimLogic, and I look after our sales for North America. And I've been in the industry about 25 years. I worked for a couple of manufacturers of software, for manufacturing software over the years. And now obviously I'm with SimLogic, where we primarily do OT, as we call it, SCADA software and MES. This is our core expertise. And this is what we deliver for our clients across the globe. So maybe Chris, you can just introduce yourself, please.
Yes. Thanks, Marc. Yep, my name is Chris, responsible for our delivery here in North America. Background is controls engineering and continuous improvement. So looking forward to sharing this with you today. Thanks.
Great. So what our plan is, we're going to take about 30 minutes to go through about a dozen slides. And it's pretty interesting material. And for the last 10 minutes or so, we can, if there's any questions, of course, we can answer them. And between Chris and myself, I think we can field pretty much any questions that the audience might have. So for our agenda today, we're going to be talking about SCADA, which is, supervisory control and data acquisition. We use that term for plant floor data, and or data acquisition. So we're using that term kind of in conjunction with each other, and we're looking at how we integrate that with ERP. What the benefits and obstacles are of integrating SCADA with ERP. We're going to talk about a roadmap to success, some things to consider essentially to make sure that your project is a success. And then, like I said, we'll have some time for Q&A. Okay. Very briefly, I mean, there's a lot of different terms, and we're not going to spend too much time on this, but you're going to hear when you talk about plant floor, using data on your plant floor, a lot of different industry terms come up: Industry 4.0, digital factory, smart factory, Internet of Things. And as a summary, I guess that they're all using plant floor data to help manufacturers make intelligent decisions to help run their factories. So, different buzzwords, and depends on where you are geographically in the world as well, you might use different words. So the words we're going to use today are going to be, you'll see digital factory and you'll see smart factory in some of the slides from today. And essentially, like I said, that's terms to generally describe plant floor automation. So, the topic is, getting plant floor data integrated with your ERP system. So in order to do that, you need to understand generally what a SCADA system does. So on the plant floor, we need a SCADA, which stands for Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition. Notice the data acquisition piece of that word, the DA part, data acquisition. I mean, that's key to this conversation. I mean, that's really the component that helps collect plant floor data and distribute that or share it to whatever other systems, such as an ERP, that you want to talk to. So SCADA is, used primarily by operators. Just think plant floor operations, primarily used by operators, technicians, engineers, The system's gathering information in real time, controlling processes, it's recording historical data, and keeping downtime low, minimizing downtime, and also helping manage the efficiency in the plant and keeping your efficiencies as high as possible as well. So that's typically the main objectives of the SCADA system. How does it work? Well, on the plant floor, we have PLCs and RTUs, remote terminal units. They're communicating with machines, sensors, devices on the plant floor and collecting data. PLCs send this information to the SCADA software, which processes and distributes and displays the data via a HMI typically to operators so that they can fix problems and make intelligent decisions on the plant floor to control their processes. Okay, so maybe an example of that is when there's a batch of product and it has errors, or when there's an issue on the line, the SCADA sends this to the central site to notify an operator that something needs to be done. And helps get regular, helps get operations onto issues as fast as possible. So because it's real-time data. So that's essentially how the SCADA system works. Not going to spend too long on ERP, since Comsoft are the experts with the ERP system. But since we're talking about integrating plant floor and ERP, I mean, it's important to know the essentially that an ERP system is doing similar functionality, but on the IT level, on the information technology level. So so for SCADA is managing the plant floor processes, ERP is managing the business processes in the office environment. So ERP helps enhance efficiency and reduce production and transaction errors. It can do product planning, finance, development, HR, supply chain, distribution, sales, etc. The ERP is used to collect, store, manage, and interpret data from these business processes and share the data across various departments. Okay, the ERP uses database that are maintained usually by DBMS, database management system. And this is this, I'll talk about in a moment why, sometimes it's difficult to communicate with this and why technology can help you do that. So this is a main slide, the benefits of connecting SCADA or your plant floor data with your ERP system. You can cross-reference information. If it is connected, you can cross-reference information from business level and from the plant floor. You can have one single point of information, essentially, one single truth of information by correlating that data. Many other benefits can result, such as making better decisions by knowing what's happening in other levels of the organization, preventing downtime by understanding the real causes of the downtime, making your operations more efficient and transparent, complying with regulatory compliance more easily, improving quality control and quality assurance, increasing and accelerate data access. The list goes on when you start to get data and ERP systems working together. What we see typically, what drives, at least this initially, is many of our clients have a priority to try and automate the process between the work orders and their ERP and their plant floor. So typically it's very much a manual process. And there's a lot of benefits to automating that, reducing paperwork, reducing errors, getting quicker response times, making changes in real time. So that automated connection between ERP and plant floor is driven many times by that initial want. But now that you have financial data and production data integrated, You can tie dollars to production and scrap rates, for example. You can start doing valuable calculations and getting valuable information from your systems once these data systems are talking to each other. You can also stream real-time data into your ERP, for example, so that you can see progress, actual progress, which is typically not available in an ERP system. So hopefully that all makes sense. But those are, it's kind of a summary of some of the amazing benefits of connecting SCADA and ERP. Now, it doesn't come without its obstacles. Technology is absolutely helping in this case. But more from a traditional standpoint, there's some challenges which when connecting SCADA to ERP. So, SCADA is part of what we call OT or operational technology. ERP is part of the information technology system. So with that, they're somewhat different worlds, and with these different worlds, there's different languages and different data and different formats that they talk in. So that's traditionally why there's been a bit of a barrier to success in making these systems work. On the OT side, where the SCADA system sits, typically there's proprietary systems, where on the IT side, they like to use open standards for the most part. On the SCADA side, it's typically in real time, collecting production data, making real-time decisions. ERP system is typically transaction-based and processes data in batches. ERP is database-oriented, where SCADA, or again, plant floor information, is not typically anyways, and which can make it difficult to transfer data. So just some ideas of how the systems differ. And sometimes one group thinks they can easily connect to the IT, can easily connect to OT, for example, where you really need to understand both worlds, understand the technologies in order to make that transition smooth. So how do we solve this? Well, like I mentioned, technology has been our friend in the last decade or so to help us figure all this out, and it keeps getting better and better. I mean, traditionally, what would you do? You could manually move data across the systems, which is very time consuming and often requires scripting, for example. You can try and use a solution that can integrate the two systems, which gets very costly, and it can take months to accomplish that at a minimum. And really what it comes down to is, find a solution and a platform that works nicely with both your OT and your IT. So with your ERP system and your plant floor system. And that this, we happen to be experts in doing exactly that. So this is what SimLogic does. So this is kind of a visual of what a high-level architecture might look like. And you kind of picture your modern SCADA system in the middle there. The orange part is, say, your SCADA system, your modern SCADA system. And you can think of this as a single server or a gateway. So it's a little bit technical. Or you can also think of it as like 20 different gateways, potentially across multiple lines or areas or plants. Okay, so it's very powerful from that perspective. Okay, now the platform enables connectivity to many different things out of the box. So it's meant to do exactly this. And this is the data acquisition part that I mentioned about SCADA. So just to touch base on a few of the items that are shown on this diagram, you have the touch panels, PLCs, mobile devices. I mean, these are front-end access visualization screens. You got reports, graphics, LIMS devices. That's your live information management systems, which you might have on your plant floor. Those are for connection to devices such as serial devices or scales or measurement devices is typically what you'd use LIMS for. So all these different, levels of connectivity that's required in order to collect the data that you need. In the bottom right, you have something called OPC, and there's different data protocols which we see on the plant floor quite typically. And these different protocols allow us to communicate to many different devices on the plant floor. These are all standard industrial protocols on the plant side. And again, you wouldn't see that typically on the IT side. One key feature is the connection to databases and also the web services, and you'll see on their ERP systems such as ComSoft. So that's what you get with a modern SCADA system such as this when it's configured properly. And just checking our time. So shifting gears just a little bit, we're talking about, fairly rudimentary plant floor data acquisition. That might be part of a larger plan. It might be part of a larger journey. It may not be. Maybe you just want to get basic data into your ERP, which is fine. And that's a good goal on its own. But if it is part of many of our clients have a longer term vision where they want to create something called a smart factory. And like I said, that's one of the kind of the buzzwords that I mentioned at the beginning of this. So what is a smart factory? Smart factory is a digitalized manufacturing facility that uses connected devices, machinery and production systems to continually collect and share data. So this data can then be used to make informed decisions, to improve processes, as well as address any other issues that may arise. So this could be, like I said, could be part of a longer vision that your organization may have. And this is something to take into consideration when you're planning your data acquisition or your ERP plan. So, from experience, the plan is very important. And I think I have a slide on here that talks about, the number one reason why many of these projects fail is because they're not planned properly from the start. So, we have clients that explain what they want. You have how the team actually designed it in the middle, and then at the end is what the customer really needed. And, it's kind of a funny way of looking at it, but at the end of the day, it is reality that many times you don't get what you actually wanted. So it needs to be understood properly. You need to understand both the business goals and KPIs that you're trying to achieve, and how to kind of correlate that technically into the software solutions that you need, and ensuring that your plant floor is ready for that kind of technology, and that your people are ready for that kind of technology. So there's many things to consider when you're making these plans. This is a slide I was talking about. So this is just talking about kind of the origins of error with data acquisition projects in general. And you can see that, by far the largest number of errors were found on the analysis and design side, and how that correlates into correction cost is in the operations. So the operations end up paying for this because the systems aren't running properly, and it can affect production and quality and so on. So you can really turn that around and try and correct this ahead of time by planning properly and coming up with the right analysis and design right from the start. That's one of the main messages of the talk today, is to help you plan this properly. Plan your journey properly. So find a partner that really understands both the IT and the OT side. And from a SimLogic perspective, we have a methodology that we follow. It doesn't have to be us that does this for you, but whoever your partner is, make sure that they do have a strong understanding of both, and they have they're just not going to implement a solution without asking the right questions, understanding the requirements in detail, and what the impact is going to be on your organization At the end of the day, we have something here called RAISE. So we recognize the business needs and clearly identify them, and analyze from a cost-benefit analysis what your problem is and what the potential solutions are going to be. This also could be where a return on investment analysis is performed as well. Of course, you want to implement the technology successfully, deploy it correctly, support it. Big part of it is support, making sure that if something does go wrong, when it does go wrong, that you have a good plan to ensure that has minimal impact on your operations. And the excellence part is really just, taking lessons learned. Learned how that whole process went and continuously feeding it back to make the system better and better over time. So finding a partner that can do this with you, in our experience, is critical to the success of the long-term success, of the project. So hopefully that makes sense. So a little bit of a recap. So when you're starting your plant floor data project, maybe it's your smart factory journey, don't focus on the technology. And we see this quite a bit. You start off with a solution and try and make it fit. Invest time into the planning, take a business approach, keep it simple. When you say keep it simple, you got to watch for scope creep. Make sure you focus on what's really important, because these projects could get blown out of proportion very easily. Using industry experts and business analysts that really understand your business and your industry and your technology, and build a solid business case from the ground up to ensure success. That's all I had for slides. I mean, we're here to help any clients that want to have a discussion about this. We can give you some advice or work with you. We have a 5-step guide to digital transformation. So just email Chris or myself, and we'll make sure we get that out to you if you're interested. I didn't let Chris talk too much here, but sorry about that, Chris. But he's between Chris and I, we can answer any questions around data acquisition, SCADA, plant floor automation, anything that you like. Chris, did you want to add anything to that at that point? Okay.
No, okay. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you, Chris. Don't hesitate to ask your questions in the dedicated tab on the right of your screen. I also want to remind you that all conferences will be available for replay today if you go back to the event page. So I'll let you ask your questions. We still have a few minutes. Okay, so no question. So thank you again, everyone. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you for your time. Thank you to all attendees. We are having another conference at 3 p.m. today. It's going to be the last one of the day, and it's called How to Make Strategic Data-Driven Decision. Again, to join the conference, you can go back to the event page and click on the join button when the conference starts. Thank you so much and have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.